Welcome back to the shop. All right, today got a fresh box of AC fittings that hopefully are the right ones. So the plan is to get the AC lines made, get the AC system charged. Cross our fingers and hope that all my wiring, because the AC goes factory dash through the Haltech, it's controlled through the computer so that it can vary the fan speeds and idle and all that stuff. So let's hope I got all that wired right. I'm sure there's a setting wrong in the tune or something. Hopefully that's the extent of any problems if we do have problems, but maybe we just get lucky and it all works and I did it right. We shall see. So I want to get the AC done, working. I want to get the headlights and the grill put in it, the tail lights put in it, and probably try to get the ignition switch in, see if we can fix that once and for all. And that might be it for this episode. I don't know. We'll dive into what we can dive into and get done what we can get done. So let's dive in and get started. Alright, so the original plan from the very beginning in my head was we kind of had this remote, I guess it wouldn't really be remote, but plus the AC lines coming out the bottom makes the top look really clean. That's what I wanted to do. The problem is there's not enough room. I didn't plan out and think ahead with all the coolant lines and how close the turbo is going to be to the fender, and like one of those lines has to come out and connect to here. The other one has to come up and connect to here. So like there's just not a great way to keep this from getting too hot with the exhaust and all that. Like I said, I didn't necessarily plan that out as good as I probably should have or could have. So we're gonna go a little bit function over form. We're going to ditch this fancy piece, save it for a future project. We're going to put just the simple, basic top mount fittings, and that will give us a quick line over here to the front and a quick line this way over there. Put enough air gap around all of it that hopefully it will work properly and not get too hot. And then with the other way, we were going to have to put inline adapters like this to hook our hoses and our gauges up. That's just more things to go wrong. So I ended up just getting these fittings. Will basically go straight to there. Our hoses right there. Our gauges. Gauge ports are easy to get to. Not quite as clean as the other route, but I mean, let's face it, this whole engine bay is not as clean as it could be. I could spend more time and redesign it 20 times over and still not be 100% happy with it. But ultimately, I just want AC to work. I mean, some things you just can't get away from. We're gonna end up with things we have to do sometimes we don't necessarily love. So that's the route we're going. Final answer, once and for all. At least final answer for right now. I mean, 6 months, a year from now, who knows what we'll end up with. But for the time being, get this thing on the road and get us AC. This is what we're going to do. Leave the cap on these for now. Just kind of temporarily set these here so that we can plan our stuff out without getting a bunch of junk in there. Kind of going backwards. I guess it's gonna have to be these bolts are not long enough. Well, we can use the bolts that come with the other bracket, maybe. Apparently leaving these on is not working. I guess the other bolts will work. It just won't work with the little plastic cap in there. Nope, not gonna work because there's not enough room to thread the fitting in there. All right, at some point, we're gonna get this right. Now we're cooking. These just barely fit together though. Alright, so this one's gonna go to the front. These have O-rings. Well, if that ain't my luck. So I buy all these fittings a week ago. I get O-rings with them. And then I find out that a couple of them I ordered not going to work because I had to change up the layout. So I order a few more fittings. And this time none of them have O-rings. All from the same place. I think it's very frustrating. Whatever I want to do, I want to make sure I can get valve covers, intake, all that stuff off so I don't have to take the AC apart. We also have to make sure that we can get our fittings on here. Leave that on there for the time being. Now we got to get some hose. Yeah, I ordered 3 fittings this round. Not a single one of them have O-rings. It's a good thing I have a few. Alright, I bought way too much hose, but that's okay. I decide we want to go under that, over that. I don't know that it really matters. We need the straight end. This end is a little bit straighter. I would like enough slack. Like I said, if we got to get intake or valve cover, I don't want it way over there. We don't want it in the way of that. Thinking that might work right there. Should probably clean off the table. That would be the smart thing to do. All right, we got us a new tool. Been wanting one of these for a while. Most of my career, anytime I had to do any kind of custom AC work, I just opted to not have AC simply for the fact that I was too cheap to take a truck down somewhere and have them make me custom AC lines. I didn't want to just go buy universal ones that would be too long and no good. So again, I just removed the AC and that was just that. But as I get older, we live in Texas, AC is not just a comfort, it is a necessity. So, I know these things are made in China, but for the amount I'm going to use it, maybe 2 or 3 times a year at most, I feel like it will do just fine. We shall see. Now we just got to figure out which one of these die sets we're going to need. Die number, pipe size, inner diameter. Inner diameter is 1/2 inch. Outer diameter is 7/8. Oh, yay, millimeters. 24.4 millimeters in an inch. So if you take your inch and divide by that, no, you gotta multiply that. 0.5 times 25.4, it's gonna be half, 12.7. So we're going to need the 10. You know what color that is? Well, that would be nice if they gave us the color. There's a 6. There's the 10, yellow. All right. So they make two versions of this. They make basically like a handheld one. They make this remote one. My crazy thought with this one is it's a little more expensive. That's kind of fancy. With this external one that you can hook up with the quick connect, I could possibly mount this to my little hydraulic bench over there and run the hydraulic pump. That's my thought anyways. Whether that will ever work, I don't know, but might be an idea for the future. Or I could have kind of a hose crimping station if I wanted to. Alright, I don't have a lot of extra fittings, so I feel like we should figure out how to do this and the instructions. Put right mold into pliers, check. Load tube and insert pin, tighten the knob, operate handle. Ain't no way it's that easy, but I guess it is. Quick connect there would be nice. Alright, the next thing we got to do, very important. And again, I've never actually done this before, but I bought a lot of hydraulic hoses and watched them do it. Those are in all the way. We're going to make sure we like where they are at. And we need to make sure we clock it. Because what you don't want to do is end up turning that one where it's pointing up. You're not going to get your fittings to twist there. If you draw your line on both, then when you pull it off, you can make sure you got it lined back up. Let's see how bad we can screw this up. Gotta make sure we're on our line. Put just a little bit of pressure and make sure that the hose is seated. We're going until it stops. You get a pretty professional looking. The end's not perfect, but may not quite be show quality. But hey, if we got AC, this is the tricky part. It's like what to do with this. There we go. We got a custom AC line in a matter of minutes. No trips to the store, no dropping the truck off. I don't know what y'all think, but I don't think it gets much better than that. All right, I gotta find my O-rings. Oh, that's not gonna work. Way too small. Well, we don't need this one now. wound down, one to go. So we got this special one that should get us through the firewall. Oh yeah, that's gonna be perfect. I was worried I was gonna have to cut the firewall out because see, I thought these were number 6 lines. I bought these. I was definitely gonna have to cut that out. And then when I got them here and realized that I was supposed to order number 8, I found that they have this special one for early 90s GM stuff. The question is will it clear the intercooler tube? We might have to. I'm not supposed to bend these things, but desperate times calls for desperate measures. We need AC. I just don't want to bend them too much, so they're not rubbing. I think that'll work, and we can kind of snake it up that way, maybe. But maybe not. That might work. I'm just gonna have to bend. So we need to kind of bend this that way. Get it underneath that charge pipe. Should be able to use the brake line bender. Kind of roll that around. All right, I bent it a little bit. Question is, did we do it the right way? Kind of worried about it chafing on the firewall down there. Do I love it? No. Will it work? I think it will. All right, let's go crimp this one. Got to change our dies out. Let's get all this stuff tight and then put some vacuum to it and see if we got any leaks. So according to this, we're right at the outer limit of using the same die, or mold as they call it. So we just won't use quite as much force. I'm going to do it this way this time so that I can see my marks. I just realized y'all are just staring off into space. Get with the program. Well, that's kind of a design flaw. All right, pay attention. Now we're up here. What I am unsure about though is if there's oil in that compressor. All right, it's got oil in it, supposedly. Now we got to hook up our gauges. vacuum pump is going to help us check for leaks, pull out any moisture that might be in the system. We're going to let that run 10 minutes or so, get down to a good vacuum. No, we're probably going to let it run at least 30 minutes. Get down to a good vacuum, and then I'll shut all the valves off and I'll let it sit there for 10 or 15 minutes and make sure that it's holding. And then if all of that passes, then we get to put Freon in it. So, y'all don't want to sit here and watch nothing, so we'll see you in a few minutes. 30, 40 minutes for me, a few seconds for y'all. You get the drift. Well, while we wait on the AC to suck down, let's go ahead and change these tail lights. Well, there's nothing wrong with these tail lights. It's just we've got shiny, bright new headlights. These are beyond repair. They're kind of cracking, and they look good from afar, but they're far from good. And then you put your old ones back on the shelf so that you have spares. Because why not? Probably should have made sure they worked before I put them in there. I think, if I remember right, this truck's weird. If all the front lights are not plugged in, the backs do not work. I think. Might be wrong. We're going to call that good for now. I had a thought that the ignition problem was something with the alarm / remote start, so I crawled under here, popped the cover, and unplugged it. And it didn't do anything, so just opened the door and the fuel pump kicked on. Strange. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Has nothing to do with the ignition switch. The ignition switch is 100% unplugged. Somewhere, somehow, we got power backfeeding through something. So I just unplugged the panel light fuse, right? No, I just unplugged the stoplight fuse. Okay, so with the stoplight fuse in there, it turns everything on. Well, for the time being, I'm just going to unplug that. And I guess we can put all this back together. All these wires going all through the engine bay, the factory stuff, and being all over the place. Bet you I got like an extra wire somewhere. But that doesn't completely make sense either, because at one point it was working just fine. I don't know, that's a easy temporary fix. All right, that's holding 20, which means let's put some Freon in it. It's getting kind of low, so hopefully we got enough. All right, let's get this thing fired up and warmed up. See if she'll start. Heck yeah. All right, I got the AC on. See if she takes some Freon and if our compressor kicks on. Kind of nerve-wracking with hoses I built. Alright, I need to get my laptop out. I think I've got a setting off somewhere. Okay, let's see if we can figure out how to make the AC work. Air conditioning is on. There we go, I have my voltage wrong. Okay, so request switch on and off. Not really. Okay, on 0 volts. AC output is on. It says operational. And that it's on. There's also no voltage coming out of it. Okay, it's not going to be voltage because it's a ground activated, right? No, it's a voltage activator. All right, so I was trying to troubleshoot this. Freaking camera died and I didn't hear the battery beep. Then I had to get a new battery and I proceed to explain to y'all how I got it working for a solid 15 minutes. So then hear the camera beep that it was powering off because I never pressed record. So we got Freon in it. He's icing up. Icing up in a good way. It's about 90 degrees. This ought to be up here 250-ish. That's about where it needs to be. But it honestly might just be that those fans are We're doing a really good job of keeping it cool. We're also measuring the high side out of the compressor. That might skew it a little bit from what I'm used to seeing anyways. Ooh, that is ice cold. We have air conditioning. It could be a little bit colder. This fan could blow a little bit harder, but I think that's just 90s model technology. But it's pretty cold air coming out the vents. It's halfway comfortable in here. Like I said, I'm sure I can dial it in a little more. I need to find my temperature, my vent temperature probe, and kind of go from there. Get a little bit more of an accurate outside temp instead of just guessing off the weather app. But the fact that it does work, that's a major accomplishment, because this will be my first AC retrofit, I guess. I've worked at some other shops in the past and put in like vintage air and stuff like that, put in the make and model specific kits, you know, but to integrate factory with some aftermarket and the LS, like, it's definitely a first for me. And I'm super excited that it's working. White glove service over here. The new LED Amazon headlight bulb came with some really tiny white gloves. So as I'm editing this video and y'all are sitting here watching me throw these fresh set of headlights in, I realized that through all the camera battery issues and not pressing record, I didn't actually explain what the AC problem was. Turned out to be really simple after, I don't know, probably 45 minutes of pulling my hair out over it, but basically the Haltech ECU takes the signal from the factory AC switch. The AC switch commands the ECU to send power out and through the AC pressure switch, which guarantees that there's enough freon in the system that then engages the compressor clutch. And it wasn't working. I was basically getting 12 volts out of the ECU whenever I unplugged the pressure switch, and then as soon as I plugged the pressure switch back in, it went to zero. And that's because the Haltech is designed to output a ground signal to turn on a relay that will then power a 12 volt object, in this case the AC compressor clutch. even though it's able to put out a 12 volt signal, it's not really designed, and it won't actually power anything very large, like an AC compressor clutch. So I had to wire in a relay onto the dash that accepts the ground output of the ECU, which I turned on through the computer, turned on in the tune, that will then ground the relay, which then in turn sends 12 volt out to the pressure switch and out to the clutch, and everything's working just fine. So that's pretty much all it was at the end of the day. Well, I think this is where we're going to end it. We've still got a few things left to do on the OBS before we leave on our road trip in about 9 days, but trying really hard to keep these videos under an hour, so I've got more progress to share, but it would easily be an hour and a half, so we're going to leave it at that. Thank y'all so much for stopping by and hanging out. I hope y'all have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the next visit.